After today's reveal, we now have all three of the tier 2 relics, so in this video we're going to go over all of them and which might be the best choice for your league path. First up on the list we have Hotfoot, and this is a similar relic to some of the ones we've seen in the past with the agility boots. But for League 6 we're going to be getting the Searing boots, and when worn you will get agility experience based on your agility level while you're running. Some new additions is all caught fish are automatically cooked, mined ore are automatically smelted. But then while you're also not even wearing these boots, you'll gain the following benefits, and that is picking up termites or marks of grace from a course. These will automatically complete your lap, granting you full XP along with 10k GP. Marks of grace will have a 33% chance to spawn on all rooftop courses every single lap. Completing a course will grant you double the completion count along with a 25% bonus XP. You'll have a 100% success rate on all actions for agility and cooking. You receive 2 times termites from the Colossal Worm agility course. You'll receive 10x the crystal shards from the Prif agility course. Overall, a very solid relic for one of old school's worst skills being agility. But if we move on to the other relics it's going to be up against, with today's release we got Friendly Forager. Upon choosing this relic you will receive the Forager's pouch, and either while worn or in your inventory you'll gain the following effects, and that is when you gather resources from woodcutting, fishing, mining, or hunter, the pouch will automatically find and store a random grimy herb. This herb is limited to any of them that you would be able to clean. Based on the calculation, that is your herb lore level plus 25. And every time your pouch does collect one of the grimy herbs, you will receive a small amount of herb lore XP. The pouch will only find herbs it has rooms to store, but it will always attempt to give you an herb that you can receive. And then lastly, the sack will function as a herb sack. And I believe it has been confirmed it'll be the pristine variation, meaning it can hold upwards of 100 of each herb. And then in addition to the Forager's pouch, we'll also get these other additions in the herb lore skill itself. First up, all items are processed at once. And then secondary ingredients have a 90% chance not to be consumed, and this will stack additively with other resources. And I believe pairing this with the goggles you would get from Mastering Mixology does effectively make this a 100% chance not to use your secondaries. And then lastly, all potions created will have 4 doses instead of 3. Now for the last relic we have in this tier, it is Woodsman. You have a couple toggleable effects. You can have your hunter traps harvest directly to your bank or your inventory, and then logs chops will automatically burn, and you can turn that on and off. But now for our active effects, and that is all items are processed at once while fletching. Stackable fletching items are capped at 10x the regular amount per action, so if you're fletching something like dark, you would be doing 100 at a time rather than 10. Chop logs are automatically burned while wood cutting, and this does grant full fire making XP. Otherwise, the big addition to this relic this time around that is definitely different from some of the stuff we've seen in the past, you also gain the following benefits to Hunter. You have a 100% success rate, which we have seen. Traps attract animals slightly faster, and they also give double XP and double loot. Now, one interesting note that does kind of counteract the Forager pick in this tier, and that is traps always drop a random herb seed or tree seed when they're harvested. And with how fast Hunter is and how many traps you're collecting an hour, I imagine this results in a ton of seeds overall. Obviously, that still will be a decent mix of some really garbage ones, but you will catch some decent ones here and there. But another benefit is Hunter Rumors will give double XP upon turn-in, and the Hunter's loot sacks will award 2 times as much loot. All loot from jarred implings will be doubled and noted, and additionally they will no longer break upon opening, so you don't have to continuously keep going back to get more impling jars. And then all Quetzal whistles will not lose charges, meaning as soon as you get the little 5 charge whistle, you'll be able to use that for essentially the entirety of the league. Now overall, I really like this tier of relics. There's definitely variations where any of these 3 relics could be your best choice depending on what other relics you're taking in different tiers. And this definitely makes it harder to say which one of these 3 relics is the best individually. Because if we look later in the tiers at something like the tier 5 Nature's Accord for the farming relic, the 10x yield you're going to be getting from planting any herbs or things along that nature effectively makes something like Friendly Forager a no-go. But at the end of the day, that also could come down to what comes in this final third tier 5. Because as of right now, I'm definitely leaning towards Nature's Accord, especially over something like Larcenist. And in my personal planning, that definitely makes something like Friendly Forager obsolete. I think both of them individually are very good relic choices. I don't think you could go wrong with taking either one. But I definitely think it would be a major mistake to try to take both of them at the same time. Even with all the other added benefits of leagues themselves, training herb lore is just a pain in the butt. But regardless of which one of these 2 relics you do pick, it does solve that problem. But as for our other two relics in this tier, there is definitely some synergy with some of your choices you can make in the first tier. Something like Endless Harvest that'll give you double resources gathered from fishing, woodcutting, and mining. And the big kicker of that is XP is granted for all additional resources. If we look at something like Woodsman, not only would you be getting double logs that you could use to rapidly increase your fletching level, especially out of the gate, to get you something later on when you get some more GP like fletching broad arrows that is incredibly fast. But on the other side, you could also just be fire making those logs, and you would then be getting 2 times more XP because you would be getting double the logs. But Endless Harvest also pairs really well with Hotfoot for the automatically smelting the ores or cooking the fish. In the same way you would automatically burn your logs with Woodsman getting additional double XP, the same goes for smithing and cooking with Hotfoot. Hotfoot also comes with a decent little moneymaker out of the gate. This is definitely going to be something not incredibly strong, because you're obviously capped at how many laps you're going to be able to run in any given hour. But the 10k XP every single time you pick up termites or marks of grace is definitely going to be a little decent chunk of cash this early in the league, considering you are going to be able to pick this at tier 2. And this does counter something like if you do end up going Endless Harvest or Barbarian Gathering, rather than taking the Abundance, which effectively just generates GP every single time you do an action that grants XP. Albeit, don't get it twisted, this is definitely much worse GP than Abundance, and that only becomes even more glaring later in the game. But another thing to note with Woodsman that we did jump over earlier is the double XP for Hunter Rumors and double Loot Sack rewards. If we actually pull up one of the Adept Sacks from the Hunter's Rumors, you can see all the way at the bottom for each of the 7 loot rolls, there is an 8% chance to receive 4 noted herbs. Now that definitely in itself might not be something too crazy, but it does add a lot more benefit to Woodsman itself if you are going to be taking something like Nature's Accord later on. This can be used to very effectively bypass that early game herblore training or need for some of those early game potions, without really needing to go out of your way to do anything else. It's just the added benefit of training your hunter. And I imagine completing quite a few tasks that are going to be around the Hunter's Rumors, considering it is in our starting area. Personally, with the relics we know right now, I'm definitely leaning towards Hotfoot out of these 3 options. I think if anything changes my opinion, I would lean more towards Woodman as my second pick. Personally, Friendly Forager just isn't that great. I know it does solve Herblore, and Herblore does tend to be an absolute pain, but as of right now, I'm definitely going to be taking Nature's Accord in Tier 5 over Larcenist. So depending on what comes in that final relic, it might ultimately completely derail my current plans. But with my current thought process, there's just no reason to be taking Friendly Forager in Tier 2. Personally, I absolutely despise agility, so with maxing always being one of my goals in each of these leagues, this does completely solve my most hated skill in the entire game. But with everything we know so far, I'm definitely leaning towards Abundance or Endless Harvest in Tier 1, and I think a Tier 2 Hotfoot pick pairs with both of those pretty well. But for some final pros and cons before we end off the video, Hotfoot itself really solves primarily agility, which of itself isn't really a hard skill, just more of an annoying one. You can't really say it solves things like cooking or mining. It definitely pairs well if you do take Endless Harvest for those extra resources. I would say it solves cooking definitely much more than smithing because you do have to mine the ore to get the automatic smelting benefit, but with the 100% success rate on all actions for agility and cooking, there are definitely quite a few shops around the game that contain raw fish that would allow you to very quickly train your cooking to get some early points. Now, cooking itself is a very fast skill, but this relic itself will help it get off the ground. Moving on to something like Forager, the only thing it solves is Herblore. The relic by itself isn't anything too crazy or strong, but it just happens to fix one of the most difficult skills to train as an Iron Man. And then for Woodsman, the primary solve is fletching. Even though just like Hotfoot, where cooking is an incredibly fast skill, fletching is an even faster skill. But with a new task for completing 200 mil in a non-combat skill, pairing something like Woodsman with fletching, doing darts or arrows later on, makes that task a very quick one to complete, even if it is going to cause arthritis. Otherwise, Woodsman does have some nice benefits for fire making and some really nice benefits for Hunter. Hunter is also a decently quick skill, but I imagine there's going to be a ton of points in it, and this relic definitely incentivizes training it early. Not having access to the free herbs from Forager, the Hunter's Rumor sacks are going to be some very good early game herbs to kickstart your herblore training. And this one kind of gets just jumped over, but I think depending on how common some of these implings are, the higher your hunter level is, there are some very nice resource drops on some of those late game impling tables. I think this is a well done group of relics, and you can't really go wrong depending on what you're going to be pairing it with from other tiers. Well, with that, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy or found it helpful, consider dropping a like, and I will catch you guys in the next one.